Hello and welcome back to today's episode here at the Pilgrim's Well. We're going to continue to look at marriage and family. We promised last episode that we're going to look at what if things aren't in a perfect world, and especially we'd like to start with what if your spouse is an unbeliever? How does that change things, or how do we adjust to that?
Yeah, this is a very hard thing. It's so much easier said than done, for sure. But the first thing that I want to highlight is that God planned marriage not for believers, but for men and women. So the roles for marriage to God, the man to lead and the woman to be submissive, is still valuable, applicable to unbelievers, or even to a believer and an unbeliever married. So I would like first to talk about the woman as a believer and the husband as an unbeliever, which I think it would be the hardest thing, because be submissive to a husband that is not Christian, it can be very hard, right? First Peter chapter 3 talks about it in the context of submitting to ungodly rulers. He talks about in chapter 2 and about being submissive and obey our rulers if they are not good, or our employers if they are unbelievers. So this is part of life, unfortunately. But for a woman, I think the hardest thing is how to deal with it, because a lot of times he would request, or he will wait for you to do something that can be sinful. For example, he can demand that you stay at home in Sunday mornings when you would be in a church. This could be hard, and I don't want to say that there is a rule to say you have to say this. No, Sunday I have to go and that's it. Both services, we kind of have to feel the house and feel how it will work. Each person is different. Each husband is different. Some husbands are very understandable, others not. So the women have to take this in account before take some decisions. But the bottom line is that the submission of the woman is a submission to the Lord, first of all. So she's submitted to her husband and the Lord. So if he is an unbeliever and demands you or asks you to sin, you have to deny it. You have to disobey.
Serve the Lord first.
Yeah, serve the Lord first. So I have a friend that said that someday his husband asked her to do something that would against the law of God, and she said, "Don't make me decide between you and my real husband." She was very decisive in serving the Lord, and I think that's the first thing, right? When it comes to sin, to commit a sin, the woman needs to remember that they are submitted to the Lord at first.
Yeah, and I think that's also, I think a lot of husbands that say they're Christian, they do not actually live and act like a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Towards our wife, and that's the rule always, right? We serve the Lord first and then our husband.
Yeah.
But we need to make a clear distinction. Serving the Lord first doesn't mean the way I want to serve the Lord, right? Serving the Lord first means we do not sin before Him, right? And if our husbands require or cause wives to sin, they must disobey their husband.
Yeah, that's it.
At that point. But I think the Bible describes a beautiful, I think the Apostle Peter does, that wives in their Christ-likeness, in their servitude and love towards their husband, can actually cause their husbands to turn their hearts towards the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a good testimony for the gospel.
Right.
The same way that Jesus was quietly going to the cross and submitting to the will of God, his Father. Sometimes the woman just acting like Christian women and giving a good testimony of the gospel, they can reach out the hearts of their husbands. Yeah.
Let me shift gears on that a little bit, because I think this is very important, and there might be women listening that are being abused by their husband.
Oh, sure.
Right? This is a reality of today. How do you respond to that? Because there have been churches that say your husband abuses you, but you just have to be more submissive.
Yeah.
How would you?
Yeah, this is. I think this is easy. This is an easy question, because if he is being abusive, she can go to the police department, right? She have to find some help. She's not bound to him, to his authority, as we said before. If he's sinning against her or causing her to sin, she cannot be quiet, right? So she have to look for help, and she cannot. I know that it's hard, because in their minds, maybe they are being unsubmissive even to the Lord by doing this kind of thing, by getting away from this. But I think that they really should need to find help. If the church can help, she can find the authorities.
I'm thankful that they're just so clear, because I think it's very important to mention that. If there's any physical violence, and even other types of violence can reach to that point, but let's just stay with physical violence, because this is not about violence at this point. This entire video is not about this. But if there's physical violence and the husband and wife are both in the church, the wife needs to bring it to the church and to the police.
For sure.
Right? And if the husband is not inside the church, I would still bring it to the church, so that the man of the church can help, but also bring it to the police. Yeah. Because this is a criminal offense.
Yeah, for sure. And if he did this once, probably he would do it again many times, and we don't want it to happen.
Don't wait for it.
Yeah, for sure.
How about the other way around? Let's say you have a unbelieving wife.
Oh, yeah.
And you're a believer. How would that change things?
Yeah, this is hard, because men usually want to be respected. And it's not a sinful desire. Can be, of course. But God created men to be respected by their wives. And when we don't have this, it's kind of hard for us. And I think this is... because if we think about the parallel about Christ and the church... the church was always unfaithful, right? The church was always unfaithful to Christ and disobeying him and just spitting in his face. So what does Christ did with her wife? He just loved her, just forgive her, and try to keep her in his arms. So the man that have a wife that is not submissive, you have to love her more and more, right? And be aware that this can cause shame to him sometimes, because practically speaking, with friends and family, it will be some issues that would show up to everyone, that the house is not together, the wife and his husband are not together. This could cause some shame. But I think the most important thing is to love her more and more, like Christ.
I think it's beautiful that you point out Christ, because the more, when God loved Adam and Eve in the garden before they sinned, but he has loved us in an even greater way once we fell into sin. Yeah. Right? Those who have sinned much have been forgiven much. And I think that the more our wives are not submissive to their husbands, the more we should love them instead. Yeah. Right? To protect. I think we can still protect and help and strengthen. Now, if she hurts herself by not following the way that God has guided us, we then cover up her wounds. Right? We watch over her and protect her, and in any way seek to honor our wives. Yeah. Right?
That's the image of the gospel, right? Yeah. We see this in the book of Hosea, right? The man with his woman that goes after other husbands, and it's hard, but I think the main thing is to love more. And
if the Christian life, I always think about this very often. I think we often think things are hard because we're relying on our own strength. Yeah. Right? If you can live the Christian life in your own strength, you're not living the Christian life. Sure. Right? You need God.
Yeah.
And I think the more, when people say, I can't do this anymore, I say, well, good. Then maybe you start living by faith. All right? Maybe you turn to God, because that's the whole point of the Christian life. You cannot do it.
Yeah.
Turn to God. I'm at my wit's end. Good. Begin trying on the Lord's end. Trust in Him. Lean on Him. Get strength from Him. Let me just, let's close up with this, because every counseling of a marriage couple, it usually goes like this. Right? The couple comes before you and says, our marriage doesn't work. And then you ask why. And the husband says, well, my wife is not submissive. All right. And then you ask the wife, says, well, my husband is not a loving husband.
Yeah.
How would you, and that's the great challenge, right? In every Christian life, we have this idea, in every Christian marriage, we have this idea that I'm really trying hard.
Yeah.
But my wife is failing.
Yeah.
Like, how would you counsel that? What if your spouse is not submissive or loving?
Yeah, in a case like this, I would say that the answer, the way that he or she answered, it's already wrong, because it begins with the other, looking to the other. And in marriage, we always have to make sure that we are doing God's will. So if something's wrong, what can I do to fix it, right? So I will respond to God as a husband or as a wife, individually. So I think that's, we have to stop blame shifting, right? He can do this, she can do this, because once we are in our ways, this can affect the other person, right? Because if both of them are doing the same complaining, probably both of them are not doing what it requires of them, right? So they need to start each by himself, I think.
Yeah, I always tell people, I said, you are fine when you share about the complaints about the other person. Feel free to share exactly how the other person needs to change when you do perfectly what you need to do. All right? If you've got it covered, then you can teach you can tell the other person what needs to change. Yeah. I think my marriage really changed when I realized that I am not 50% responsible for our relationship, but 100%.
Yeah.
All right? I think we often think I'm doing 50% and the other wife, because we're together, we got to work together, it's 50-50. It doesn't work, right? Because in our minds, we always think that we do our 50% pretty good. And the problem is the other person's 50%.
Yeah.
But it changes if I'm 100% responsible, because now I'm in a discussion. I'm not only responsible to bring my point across, I'm responsible for the conversation and how it goes.
Sure.
Right? If you're in a discussion, and I think we all say this, I say A, she says B, then I say A a little bit in a different way, then she says B in a little bit different way, and we keep saying A, B, and we never get anywhere. We just think if I explain it a little bit better, then she'll understand. Right? But that usually never happens because it's a different opinion.
Yeah.
But if you're a husband and you're responsible for the conversation itself, then you can say, okay, I've heard your point. Would you like to add something? Because I need to think about this.
Yeah.
And then get back to it. Something like that.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing remarks on our conversation today?
No, because next episode I want to treat about communication in marriage. So
all right.
Yeah.
Let's do that next time. Well, thank you so much for watching. It's a great joy for me to be here with Israel, but we hope that you're being blessed as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.